Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us, coming to you from Washington's premier indoor shooting facility. Of course, that's Security Gun Club right here in Woodinville, Washington. Hey, last week we did a video about California Senate Bill 1160, a Senate bill that actually would require every single Californian to register their firearms annually with the state. Now, at the time, we went through all of the legal and constitutional issues surrounding that, but when has California ever let that get in the way of a civilian disarmament measure? Well, it appears that they may have come up with an alternative plan, perhaps a plan B, if you would, and it's one that I think all of you need to be aware of because it is another method by which they are going to use to disarm you. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's explain how they'll use your insurance company to disarm you. Okay, hey, listen, before we get going too far down the road we're going down, a big announcement for our California viewers. Hey, listen, there's a new online community that you should check out called firearms.org. It was launched by Northern California native Brandon Broussard, a 2A advocate and entrepreneur aiming to unite the California 2A movement. It's a forum and local marketplace where you can talk and trade without tiptoeing around big tech triggers and censorship. It's the perfect home base for gun clubs, and here's the best part, it's free to use. So go check it out now at firearms.org. Okay, California, what are we talking about today? We're talking about Assembly Bill 3067. This is an act that would basically allow insurance companies to assist in the formation of an unlawful gun registry in the state of California. Don't believe me? I'll prove it to you in a moment. Now, as you know, you have Senate Bill 1160, the one we did this video on here right now, which is a piece of legislation that actually says, hey, we're going to create an unlawful gun registry. Now, if by chance the state of California actually reads 18 United States Code Section 926, any part of the Firearm Owners Protection Act or anything like that, they will soon realize that that probably is not a viable method. So what they've come up with here instead is a perfect little plan B, Assembly Bill 3067, which is a way for your insurance companies to assist the state of California in forming an unlawful gun registry. Don't believe me? Here's how the bill reads. In addition to existing regulations, an application for homeowners or renters insurance shall include questions regarding all of the following. Okay, so if you need homeowners or renters insurance, which is just about all of you except for California's ever-growing homeless population, you will have to answer the following questions on your application. 1, whether there are firearms kept in the household, including in any accessory structures, and if so, how many? 2, whether the firearms, if any, is stored in a locked container in the home, including any accessory structures, while not in use. 3, the number of firearms kept in a vehicle located on the property subject to the applicable insurance policy, and, if any, whether they are stored securely in a locked container while not in use. And if enacted into legislation, insurance companies would need to start gathering this data no later than January 1st, 2026. Now, one could see how perhaps these questions and the data that would be retrieved from it could help an insurance company in trying to determine what should the coverage cost or what is the actual risk assessment here of this particular property. However, here's the other thing you need to be aware of. That would be really easy to understand if the insurance company, if the insurance industry down there in California had actually lobbied for this bill, but they didn't. And candidly, the insurance industry doesn't need this bill because they can just change their application. So they don't need California legislative approval to do this. No, because the next section of this bill tells you everything you need to know about the true purpose of this legislation. An insurer shall annually report the information gathered from the questions regarding the presence, storage, and number of firearms to the Department of Insurance and the legislature beginning on January 1st, 2027. The report shall not contain any identifying information contained in a consumer's application for homeowners or renters insurance, including but not limited to names, addresses, and telephone numbers, which shall remain confidential. and will remain confidential unless, of course, the state changes the law, the governor issues an executive order, or they just get some renegade judge to sign a search warrant. And this is in a long series of other pieces of legislation that we've been seeing kicking around the country lately, in which civilian disarmament state governments are working feverishly in concert with insurance companies to try to come up ways of disarming you. We see all sorts of, oh, you need to have this extra rider policy if you want to possess firearms. Oh, if you want to carry firearms, you need to have this additional policy. And in many instances, those additional policies that the statute mandates are not actually available in that state through any private insurance carrier. And then, of course, there's this big misnomer that if, in fact, you have firearms and there's an accidental or negligent discharge, that your homeowner's liability policy would not cover you. That is untrue. As long as you are lawfully possessing the firearm, if you were to have an accidental or negligent discharge, your homeowner's or renter's policy would, in all likelihood, cover you. Now, it would not cover you in a self-defense situation where you have intentionally pulled the trigger, because that would be considered an intentional tort, not covered in typical liability policies, which is reasons why you should perhaps take a look at self-defense insurance carriers. So once again, it is Assembly Bill 3067. Now, I know this starts in the state of California, but all of you around the country need to carefully watch this, because California is the genesis of all of the craziness. It starts in California, and 2 years later you look around and it's in New York and Massachusetts and Illinois and New Mexico and Colorado and Washington and Oregon, and the list goes on and on. Once again, it is Assembly Bill 3067. We'll link it up down below so that if you want to geek out on it for yourself, you can do so. If you got any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information is also down there in the description box. And then finally, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.